Good morning, everyone. We are elated to have all of you here with us this morning. I am Anton Sayalan, the Chief Evangelist for Luminary Learning Solutions, and I will be the voice of the webinar this morning. We once again welcome you to the Reset and Go webinar series, designed with anticipation of getting everyone back on track in terms of mindset. And as always, setting the right precedent is important for the entire series. And this is our disclaimer. We are here not to discuss the obvious. We are not here to dissect the impact. However, we are here to contemplate the way forward. This is the basis of the series. And we have but 2 more sessions to the end of the series, Reset and Go. A few ground rules for everyone joining us this morning. We will begin our webinar shortly. If you do have questions, please use the chat option at any point during the session. Similar questions will be clubbed together, and the format will be 40 minutes of webinar discussion, followed by 20 minutes of Q&A. There will be a summary to aid those joining this webinar at various points. The topic of the session this morning: social responsibility in the time of crisis. Well, for most, CSR began in 2020 with enormous potential to combine business and social goals in a symbiotic relationship, with each supporting the other and creating new opportunities for brands and the issues that matter most to their customers. And then COVID-19 happened. And while every business is faced with navigating the economic landscape for its long-time survival, there are also short-term challenges and opportunities that can be addressed using the values of CSR. In a way, it is encouraging indeed to see organizations embrace social responsibility, particularly during this difficult time, and perhaps with a change in brand. Well, let's see what we can glean from the conversation this morning. And our guests to help us are Anurag Zagamage, General Manager, Human Resource and Corporate Sustainability for Haley's Plantations; Gehan Mendes, Head of Human Resource, Flan Biscuits Limited; and Rai Balthazar, social activist and community organizer. Guiding us this morning is our host, Sithari Medagama, trainer with Luminary Learning Solutions and Sithari, Light Union Hong Kong, China, and a freelance growing cognito this morning is Vidusha Nathavitaran, founder and destiny architect, High Five consultant, and Luminary Learning Solutions, quietly doing his bit in orchestrating the webinar behind the scenes. Well, welcome everyone. Morning session. Sithari, over to you.
Thank you, Anton. Good morning and a warm welcome to all of you for joining us today. Thank you very much for taking the time. So, this pandemic has affected every one of us, one way or the other. So in this scenario, today's segment will primarily focus and we will share the experiences with one another about how we as human beings look after each other, motivate, nurture, and help each other to come out of the situation. So when we are talking about CSR, this will be our core discussion point today. We hope you will be able to get some food for thought and some good ideas to take forward. So thank you very much for the panelists, and I'm sure you'll be able to contribute and share your thoughts and your experiences with our audiences today. So to start up, let's open up with what do you think the role of CSR in a time like this? What role should CSR play in a situation like this? Shall we start up with you, Gehan?
Uh, uh, yes, Starry, I would say what we were doing. So, like, I will, if I articulate like this, we have pre-COVID period, COVID, and post-COVID. So, if I say like put everything into a structure, say like, but we have done many things during pre-COVID session. Say like by and large, say like we were in the space of greening. So like we did a lot of initiatives in terms of greening because we are primarily a food company with lot of care. We have been there for 50 years. We have been in business and started with very humble beginnings with the objective of providing nutritious biscuit, protein-rich biscuit for the kids in this country. So hailing from there, we got into commercials, and now we touch upon nearly 5,000 people's life directly, and going for about another 50,000 people's lives indirectly. So in this backdrop, so we did many things in terms of CSR on pre-COVID period. Things like going green. We had many campaigns like Tikiri Turupat, where we got the habit of planting trees. We were driving it down to our kids. Then we were in the space of polythene. Getting rid of polythene, collecting polythene in events. We call it Mihisak Maga in different events, and we were getting involved in this recycling of wrapper waste. The biscuit wrappers, all those space we were in. So in terms of creating future, so like touching the hearts of children, and because they are one of our mass segment, say in helping the kids who are dropping out from schools. Manchish Tikri Shishadara, we had many programs, and helping and preventing the school dropouts. And we were building libraries in the country called Ekpotak. We have nearly built about we have donated about 100,000 books, and built many libraries in the country. And we have another program called Sisudiriya, again educational program, and giving the right well-being concepts for the children in the country. Then the most recent initiatives in terms of increasing the creativity of people. So we did many things with school kids ending up with a Guinness World Record. That is in terms of creating the imaginatory aspects of kids. Now, when it comes to sustainability, the real sustainability builds in on the how we create, how we inculcate the sustainability concepts to our business. There we have many things. Say like since we are a food company, we need to source raw material. We are in many parts of the country. We have many companies right around the country as well as globally. So we have this concept called Govi Paula. We are directly dealing with minimum of 10,000 farmer families, where we purchase and they are guaranteed on a guaranteed price. We purchase their produce, as well as we provide them the assistance, what they need to do this, do the agriculture aspects. We provide extension services, all that. Then we have this another project going in promoting the bee farming in the country. Bee farmers are we are working with nearly about 1,000 bee farmers, where they it's a a scarce industry. I mean, the industry is going down. We promote that, and we are getting it going. Then we are getting we are working with lot of employing so like with in terms of our supply chain. That is the backward integration part I explained to you. Coming to the front end, we work with the retailers. We are developing our retailers, the small and medium retailers, SMMTs, and distributors. We work with them especially getting the second level of distributors back into business, because there is a trend of retailers going out of the business with the emerging of modern trade. So we have a lot of initiatives going in retaining them in the business. Then when it comes to the sports and culture aspects. So we sponsor the national sports, that is volleyball, as well as many arts and crafts in the area of in the country. So that was the pre-COVID session. Sithari, do you want me to explain what we did in the time of crisis, and what we intend to do in future as well?
Hello. Yes, Anuruddha. Yes, Gihan. I think it would be good if you can tell us what is your role now in the COVID situation, to explain to our audience what you're doing right now because of the COVID situation. That would be quite good, actually.
Yes. Now, what happened was when this, we never expected this thing to happen. The moment this pandemic hit the country, the most affected set of people are the first layer is our employees. I will explain this in three stages. That is what we did for our employees, and for the stakeholders, and going beyond that for the community. Starting with our employees, the first message, the confidence what our directors gave them: at any cost, you will not lose your jobs, you will not get a pay cut. You will continue to have that financial support. With that, people's morale really boosted up, and they got great confidence. And with the situation is getting worse and worse. So what we did was, it was a totally new experience for everyone. And we got the best expertise that we can provide in terms of educating their families. I mean, we used many methods in educating people how to survive in a situation like that. Then thereafter, what we did was, we provided the essentials. Even though in a time of a difficulty, we continued working. And because since we are in a food industry, we need to get the food supply chain going in the country. So our employees were working. So we have to provide them the daily essentials, because it was very difficult to reach at that time. Because now, since we are at the latter part, a lot of supply chains are developed. The initial step, people didn't have the daily essentials to buy. So from the company, we provided many times the daily essentials for people. And we looked after them very well. And the medical needs of people, because we associate as a corporate, the things what you can do is much greater than individuals. So even when there's a medical need of a person, so even buying of medicine, any medical assistance, all that was provided from the company. Then going beyond the basic needs, then then comes the security needs. Especially we have many segments in the company, so like starting from the blue collar segment to to the right on the top. So many layers, people have different needs. They like different security needs. So like, as example, people have committed for bank loans. They have taken vehicles. So we have not even reduced a fuel allowance of an employee. So we were ensuring up to the last cent everything to be paid, so that people will have that security. Even most of the say like local employees will reach up for us for certain help, but even the mid layer, even though they won't reach up, but they need to feel that security. So we were our directorate was emphasizing that that security has to be given to everyone. Then we went on, we provided different other things for our employees. That is the transport whenever they want to. Sometimes they're stuck in Colombo. They have to even to celebrate their New Year in Colombo, whereas they were away with their loved ones in their respective villages. Even though with the country's law, we can't send them out, send them back to their places. What we did was, we took whatever that has to be sent out to the villages, we took that. And when it comes to community, I'll quickly explain what we did for our community. We were building on this. Sorry, we were.
Gihan.
Yes.
Gihan, we are getting in a few questions online. Thank you so much for that. We'll come back to that. We are getting in a couple of questions already from the audience. There have been a lot of them who have joined in today. So till we come back, can I ask Rai, from the point of view of an activist, how do you see as now Gehan brought in a lot of the good work that they do as corporates. From your point of view, how can the corporates help this situation better for the community work that you do, Rai? Would you like to add some thoughts in here?
Sure. Thanks very much, Vidusha, Anton, and of course Sithari and the Luminary Learning team for putting this together and for letting us have this space to discuss social responsibility, which is very pertinent. So I'd like to start off by saying that I'm framing my responses today based on the work that we've been doing, a collective effort that I've been a part of in distributing food and essential items to daily wage workers and underserved families in Colombo. And I'd also like to weigh in on this conversation with a gendered and a humanistic approach to our responses to COVID. Something that I've been reiterating over the last few weeks is the problems of how people fall through the cracks at a time like this. And this is why I feel like we need to revisit our entire system as governments, as corporates, and yes, to some extent, even in our own homes. And since we have a lot of people from corporates here in our audience today listening to us, I'd like to ask those watching us also to reflect on how each of your organizations has approached CSR, which really has the potential to transform lives. So I'd like to begin also with a bit of a quote that I like very much, which I think is a very important way of framing this. And this is, social change is not a project. I learned this a few months ago, and it's really changed how I look at things. Many organizations in whatever sector, even charitable ones, look at these engagements with people from a bit of a distant and haphazard way, and I think this poses a great danger. Perhaps some companies do look at it from a very holistic approach, but by and large, this isn't the way things are always met with. And especially in time of crisis, where there's anyway a lot of chaos and disparity, how mindful are we of this? So in that context, I want to very quickly talk about a few things that we need to ask ourselves as we embark on these journeys of making things better, and also give examples of how we try to employ this in a very small way in our response to the COVID crisis. So the first thing I want to talk about is how you work with a community, right? Which is the experience that we've had. So for instance, in the time of crisis, were you able to do more than simply distribute goods? And the reason I ask this is because I want to share the message of also considering strengthening networks. So does it serve a community better to have you as a company just come in and distribute goods directly to them? Or is there a better system? Always question these things. Are you able to better mobilize a community, for instance, to help them build resilience? So as an example, once again, reflecting back on the work we did. So for us, this meant working through over 100 community councils from Colombo 1 to 15. And this meant that people from their own communities distributed the goods to their own people. So we didn't simply give food, we also helped in that process give both motivation and to strengthen the community leaders. And thereby we also took away this very problematic power dynamic. So that's my second point, is power dynamic. And with that, I want to talk about dignity and respect. Now, these two words are really important and crucial in the discourse of social responsibility, but they're often ignored. And this can actually is a huge challenge for companies and even, again, charitable organizations. And this is truly a learning for all of us. But I'd like to reiterate that there are ways to frame the work you do and to balance the optics of it without having to compromise the dignity of the people that you're working with. And it's not just about the optics, it's about the process, right? Have you offered those working with you the dignity and the respect that they deserve? I have two more points which I just want to very quickly touch on before we can talk about them lengthily later. Another important aspect that I want to talk about is this mechanism of collective impact. And this is truly something that corporates need to take into account. When you embark on something, how willing are you to work with others? And the most successful way of approaching any kind of problem or creating social change is in pooling your resources and bringing people together. And investing in relationships. So those can include the state, the government, NGOs, experts, and building alliances with other corporates. So, and again, it's also about reaching out to the communities and engaging with them. So for us, as an example, again, going back and a little bit of introspection, it meant that we worked with the DS office, with the Gram Niradaris. We worked with the STF using the strengths that they had. We worked with, again, the community and having, and kind of enabling them also to be a part of the process. Everybody was a partner. So there's no dynamic of power. It's not, we are not the benevolent do-gooders. We are all a part of a system and a community. And lastly, I want to talk about something that I've been quite excitedly talking about, and that is empathy. It's become a very key word in the last few weeks, but empathy is really vital. The state needs to be empathetic, as do corporates. How empathetic are you to the communities that you are working with? Are you really listening to their needs? Are you going to pitch an idea to them that you have about something that you think they need? Or are you willing to invest the time to find out how they will feel about the work that you do? At the same time, are corporates empathetic to the needs of their own employees? Now, we just heard from Gehan, who's also shared a little bit of information. I know Anuruddha will probably do the same about how they deal with their own employees. So have you spent enough time to understand the implications of your policies and your recommendations in this time? So for instance, have salary cuts, how, have you figured out how it affects somebody's home? How it affects men differently to the way it affects women, right? If you're not empathetic, then this is not information that you will have on you now. And I think it's also quite pertinent that today is Labor Day, and this conversation, how we treat our employees, is very important. So many
very apt, isn't it?
Yeah, and so many sectors today have built systems that are not in a position to support their front lines. The garment industry, for instance, we've heard of over 100 FTs, companies in the FTZ who aren't able to pay their employees at this point in time. Both the gentlemen on this panel are also from the plantation sector, so they also have experiences, and that also can be a very problematic area. So we build our economies on the backs of these people, many of them who are women, and we're still unable to support them. So what I'd like to also say is, at the end of whatever we do, whatever our processes are, can we go back on and reflect on those words? Social change is not a project. Are you invested enough with the group that you're working with to make real change? Or is the work that you do framed both internally and externally? Is it framed by profit and desirable optics? So that's what I'd like to leave you with in terms of a little bit of meat for this conversation, and then we can expand on that later.
Thank you very much, Rai. I think that's a lot of points to ponder, not for the rest of the day. I think you gave us a lot of points to think about and to maybe even rethink our strategies and processes, and as people, what we can do for the rest of the year, maybe. So thank you very much, Rai, for your insight. I'd like to ask Anuruddha, because I think Rai pointed out quite a few points on empathy and also the engagement. So on to Anuruddha, you have a long history of social engagement, and it's an ongoing basis with you. So could you quickly tell us how do you work now with the communities during the COVID time, and the best practices which are helping you right now to connect with your communities and to look after them better? Anuruddha, are you with us? Yes. Anuruddha, are you with us? Okay, let's move on to Gihan then, till Anuruddha comes back and joins us. Gihan, if you can reiterate on what you started earlier actually about helping the community now during the COVID situation and what your future plans are into the now with the whole change of scenario. If you can quickly add in your thoughts till we come back.
Yes, Sithari, coming back to the community. Oh, sorry, under this back.
Right. Continue, Gihan. Thank you.
Yes, yeah. So what we are doing at the moment, even in the future, to strengthen the relationships in this community. That is, we are getting the sustainability concepts driven into our systems. That first one, we are helping our retailers to come out from this the problematic situation, and we are providing them as well as the distributors. We are helping them to finance themselves through banks, and we are providing the guarantee. We have already done for about 140 distributors, arranging them the working capital. And the farmers, I'm talking the backward and the forward part. Then the farmers, we have bought all whatever that we have promised, as well as whatever that they have produced. Even though we don't have orders, we have bought that to ensure that this sustainability and the livelihoods of those families, nearly about 10,000 families been looked after. We pump nearly about 6 billion rupees a year for this to purchase these raw materials from the rural economy, and we will continue to do that, and we will increase that. Then coming back to the other aspects, say like we have many people in our supply chain, say like distributors, lorry crew, whereas the porters, to everyone, the daily wage earners who are not directly our employees, but at this juncture we need to look after all of them. We have paid their salaries, whatever. We have made sure that the incomes are not affected, so that enabling for them to manage. And by and large, for the community, we have looked after our surroundings, our neighbors, as well as the temples and the religious places in and out of our areas, as well as going beyond that, we have donated quite a lot of biscuits for the quarantine centers and Sri Lanka Army, and police, for the officers who are doing duties on the road, as well as Komagama Hospital is nearby, and it was turned out to be a COVID hospital, and in setting up it was a normal hospital, and it was a different situation now. So for this transformation, we have helped them a lot. Like that, we have done many aspects in terms of community. By and large, as a responsible food company, we have kept the food chain going, and even with the difficulty, we have gone to alternate channels, and ensured that the biscuits are delivered. Not only biscuits, we have a range of other products. All food items are delivered to the customers. Without interruption. But all whatever produced have been sent down to the end user.
Thank you very much, Anuruddha. So those of you who have joined us a bit later, today we are discussing the role of CSR, and we have on our panel today Rai and Gihan and Anuruddha sharing their thoughts and experiences with us. Anuruddha, can you hear us? Are you on?
Yeah, Sithari, yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, okay.
We'd like to actually know from you some experiences that you can share with us of the best practices that you have, because you do a lot of good work in the plantation sector, and which are already happening, and you are strengthening the way that you are strengthening communities. So the best practices that you have, if you can share something with us right now, which is helping this situation.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, Sithari, and good morning to you all. And thank you very much inviting to me represent Harris Plantations. As you, before you answer your question, Sithari, let me little bit have a incoming approach for the topic and the question what you asked. But the social responsibility, which we believe as a company, it should become an integral part of the wealth creation process. What we believe within our business community, which if managed properly, we always believe that it enhances the competitiveness of the business and maximize the value of wealth creation to the society. Believing that. Before we come to address the COVID and the post-COVID issues, the Harris Plantations, that we have a unique CSR initiative, as you mentioned initially. It is an ongoing one. We initiated it in 2006. We call it Home for Plantation Worker. And the benefits has captured not only for the workforce. We have nearly about 23,000 direct workforce, but our responsibility as the ethical and socially responsible company is not only for this 23,000 workforce. Our responsibility is 140,000 plantation community. As you know very well, plantation is a very unique industry where you are dealing with a lot of people, the residence workforce, the inner community, outer community levels. So within our CSR initiative from 2006, we built up under 4 pillars. We are looking at their most needed the approaches, the requirement on improving the quality of life and quality of work life, their well-being. So we have 4 pillars called living environment, health and nutrition, community capacity building, and the youth empowerment. So you raise one question, the empowerment. So engagement. So engagement is connected with the empowered workforce, which we believe. So for the continuation of the CSR process in Harris Plantations, for us, it was very easy for us to face for the present challenges with this engaged and empowered workforce all throughout since 2006. So what we believe, so we are under the pillar of living environment, we have ensured that they will have a very good residence, the living environment, and the water, clean water, sanitation facilities, community centers, and other human needs. And also under health and nutrition pillar, we have ensured that the maximum care for children, maximum care for mothers, and their health conditions, balanced nutrition, all sort of things. And we specifically believe that the third pillar on our CSR initiative was the main one, that is community capacity building. As I told initially, we are dealing with the big framework of plantation community. So building up the capacity of them. So we have developed different mechanisms within the estates, and for an example, estate work housing cooperative societies. As you all know very well, in this industry over 150 years, one of the lacking part is that they are not. They didn't have habit to save their money. What they earn, they invest. They spend, not they invest, they spend. So end of the day, they don't have anything on the time of crisis. So we encourage them all throughout, not during this crisis period. Before the crisis period, we encourage them to promote their savings, invest their saving on a very strategic way on their term, like in small business, because our ultimate focus in Harris Plantation through the CSR initiative, the empower of the family unit, because in our system you can't talk about individual, a single human being, because the basic social unity is family. So how to empower the family? So we have built up all those their savings for investments on various things of small scale businesses and various other sort of things. And end of the day, they are empowered. And also the youth is very important segment in our community. So we develop a lot of skills.
Yes. Sorry, Anuruddha, it's a good thing that you brought in the topic of the youth. If you can share with us, from the practices that you do, what specific practices have actually empowered the youth in the community? Are there anything specific? Because I think it will be relevant for all of us and also the audience that who has joined us today. If you can share with us anything specific that you have rolled out and is helping the community right now.
Yeah. Thank you, Sithari. Now, actually, all these decades, the youth in plantations was not all these decades, the youth in plantation was not taken into the front stream. So, what we did with the CSR initiative was we have identified the talent among the plantation community. So, through our CSR initiatives, we have encouraged whoever who likes to continue with their studies, we encourage them to do so. And the balance, we have, based on their skills, talents, we have absorbed them to our workforce, means even for the staff category, maybe the management category, maybe the others, the workforce category. So within the plantation community, the platform, they are really safe with that. So the youth, what we did for youth is identify their skills and we allocated them on a different parameters to perform within their states. So they are within their environment, they are with their family, they are really happy with the family. So at this crisis period, they voluntarily came up to help to our teams. So
that's brilliant, Anuruddha. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So we're getting in a lot of questions streaming in today. I'd like to move on to Rai again. Now, being an activist, how do you think that the relationship between the private sector corporates and activists who are very much involved right now, how can we improve the relationship between these parties for the betterment of the situation, to make it better? Because obviously if there is more communication, if there is more relationship between the activists who are in the forefront and also the corporates, I think the insight that you can share with each other the community should benefit more. Do you have any thoughts on that, Rai?
Yeah, thanks for posing that question, Sithari. So I'm going to expand that a little bit and not limit it to just activists, but those who are working in this space of doing things. So they're not always only activists. But I think I'm just going to first start off with what may be wrong and then move on to what could be better, right? Okay. One thing that there's a problem with is within your question, I think there was also an answer. There is a problem there, right? There is a problem in that there is no integration. And part of that reason that there is very little communication between perhaps these two groups is because we are only being reactive and not being proactive. So every time there's a crisis, now for instance, a lot of people, not just our effort, but various other efforts, are being contacted now by corporates saying, listen, we've got X amount of money, budget, and we'd like to know how we can work with you, which is wonderful and which is really helpful. But I think corporates also need to invest a little more time, especially with the projects they're doing outside, not with their employees, that's a different story, but with the projects or with the kind of work they hope to do outside. Really find people who are a right fit with you, find organizations, other groups who work well with you and invest in them. Build a relationship, so you don't wait only for a time of crisis to find somebody to go and give something to. But you invest in that time, you invest in that relationship, and you build it at that point in time. So this idea of being proactive, and especially I think those in CSR have the ability to do that and to invest that time, especially those companies that have separate departments for it. I think small organizations or companies will only ever be reactive because they can't be proactive. They don't have the capacity to really think that out beforehand. But corporates certainly can help. And I think corporates also need to find the time to listen and learn. So going back to those ideas of collective impact, instead of us giving as a corporate in Colombo, instead of us just giving 1,000 packs of food, how can we work within a larger community network to do something that's not only just about giving food items. So I'm not saying all companies work this way, but there are certainly a majority that do. So it really is about planning and looking ahead and building networks and joining forces with other people. And if you can look at it with that mindset, I think the possibility of doing better work and more work with more quality and work that will continue in the future is a higher, you know, it's got a greater rate of success.
Thank you very much, Rai. We have a question from the audience, and I'd like to put this to both gentlemen, please. The organizations are criticized for publicizing the work that they do for the community a little too much. Using CSR as a front for branding. How do you actually draw a line? It's a very fine line, yes. But how can we, as Rai brought in earlier, how can we ensure the dignity and the empathy is ensured when you actually do your good work? And not let the branding come out too much, or how would you draw the line in here? Gihan and Anuruddha, I'd like to ask the question from both of you, because both of you all come from strong corporate backgrounds.
I'll take it first, Sithari. I would say if your CSR is not linked, or if your sustainability is not part of your business, and if you don't do it day in day out as a part of your business strategy, then this need of highlighting the little what you do, it comes to light. But if you can embed your sustainability aspects to your business, and if you do that within the differentiated areas what you do, there is no necessity for you to go and advertise this, or make a big noise about it, because end of the day, the activities what you do will definitely fuel your business. That is not by earning brownie points through advertising or anything, but the results of these activities will provide that edge for you.
Gihan. Let me add few things to that, Gihan. Now, if I add something to what Gihan told, actually the corporates, when they initiated this, the concept called social responsibility, at the beginning itself, they'll have to create the transparency of the system, and also they'll have to get everybody involved in the system. As he told, it should be part of the business philosophy and the business structure, strategy and all, and also everybody has to get involved in the transparent platform to work in, because they should understand the benefit is the mutual. So it's not should downturn to a one end, but you can talk, but the most important thing, you have to show it, execute it, practically show it to the entire stakeholders, get involved in social responsibility concept. So in that case, in that way, actually, we can build up the transparency, their engagement with that, so people naturally, it should not be the artificial concept. The concept should not be the artificial to the business. It should be a part of the business, should be natural. So if you build up this natural concept within the business philosophy, so people won't feel that it is artificial, and the employees will come towards them during the crisis. So with that, I think they can build up, the team can build up how to strategize for way forward during this, after this crisis period. So that's what we did at Hedge Plant, and our concept was based on that.
Right. Thank you, Anuruddha. Because I think in one of the past webinars that we had, a couple of points which were brought out very strongly was that actually during the time of the crisis, people will remember you as what a good human being you are, than being what a good corporate or what a good leader or whatever your humility will shine through. So all that good work, I think, will ultimately boil down to how you actually and genuinely care for the community.
And adding to you, Sithari, and how you measure the success, of an organization, whether, I can remember, when you provide value, even, Bob Chapman has told once, how you measure the success of organization, whether I think it's the way you touch the lives of people.
Absolutely.
By that on you really measure the success. So even in this scenario, it's same. How you touch the success of your company or your corporate by how many hearts or lives that you touch, and how best that they will remember you at this point of time.
Absolutely, Gihan. Thank you very much. We have a very interesting question actually from the audience, and I think it's very pertinent as well. Asking how actually whether you shouldn't actually advertise the work you do. So in order to get more support from the community to help the less affluent or to help who actually need it most. So without advertising and branding, you might actually miss out on the opportunity to get others to help you more. I know it's a very tricky question, Rai. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're a corporate, I don't think you have that problem. I think that problem really is if you're individual activist or you're a small organization, like a charitable organization, then yes, your work will have to speak for your work, that there is a certain amount of the work that you do that you need to be able to talk about, right? But a lot of the charitable organizations also, those that are established, that comes through predominantly grants. So then again, that's paperwork as opposed to just pictures that are being published on Facebook. Now, our effort, for instance, did require image.
Sorry, can you repeat that a little bit, Rai, the last bit? I think you came in a little bit broken.
So I can relate to this. Sorry, I think there was some kind of break or interruption, but you can hear me?
I can hear you now, dear.
So we managed to put together about 4.5 million rupees, which was entirely crowdfunded, not from corporates, but from individuals. And there were a few corporates who did give in a little bit of money, and for which we're very thankful for. But even in controlling the optics of what we were doing, and because the process was easy, we didn't have to worry so much about the optics, right? Because we weren't the ones, there was no power dynamic in doing it. So yes, there is a problem. There is a bit of a situation there. How do you talk about the work that you do and be accepted for the work that you do, but at the same time not ride on other people's poverty, right? That is the term. How do you move away from that dynamic? So but I think as corporates, as larger entities, it's very different because there is a budget from within the company generally. And then the company has to acknowledge this is something that we are doing for people, and this is not necessarily something we're doing for advertising. You can talk about it without including images. There's a way in which to talk about it. And I think those are things that in general, we're all still learning, both corporate and charitable organizations and even individuals, because we've learned a particular thing and now we have to unlearn it in order to move forward. So there is no, I think now there's more of an awareness that we shouldn't do certain things. Like we shouldn't maybe print a bag with our names on it, have somebody hold it and then, smile and take a picture. If you're still doing that even at this point in time, then there's something horribly wrong. But there are ways that you can talk about it to still create, to still have companies understand and others in society understand the work that you do. And those are very much about those lived experiences. And I think a lot of those companies, there are lots of corporates that do good work, and we see it still. And they don't necessarily have to advertise it, but you can see it in their policies. You can see it in how they treat their employees. You can see it in their values and work, and in their employers also, right? In the people who are from the company, you can see it in how they hold those values. So that's another way of looking at it.
Definitely, thanks, Rai. Just another quick one from the audience. Like when people do contribute, Rai, how can you ensure the transparency that it goes to the right party, the right places? Any advice you can share with us, because you have a lot of experience in this area?
Yes, actually, this is really important. And it's easier if you're working with an organization that already has a mechanism. If you're giving to individuals or to, newer spaces, and you also need to find out, you need to ask the right questions. Are there, whose account is the money going to? Will you be providing bills? Can you tell us about how this works? But you also have to understand the capacity of these organizations to share that information immediately afterwards, after a crisis, because you're still in the process of doing things. Yes, you just need to be able to find who the right and transparent partners are, and be able to trust those people. Ask questions if you're not sure, and have them answer and build those relationships. So there's no like surefire way of saying this person's correct, but it's a process of understanding.
Thanks, Rai. Thank you very much. Actually, we are coming into the last few minutes of our discussion. Before we close up, I'd like to ask all three of you to share a couple of points before we wrap up. One thing is, if you can, this is your personal experience, I'd like if you can share with us, is I think in this situation, all of you are very much involved in HR, into making the societies better. What has impacted you most in this situation? What exactly has impacted you as a person, as a leader most? Can I quickly ask all three of you the same question, please? Anuruddha, you'd like to go? Anuruddha, you're on now. Would you like to take that on first? But in this situation, what has impacted you most when you're looking at the community? I think Anuruddha is not catching up onto it. Gihan, would you like to take it on, please, to share with
Yes, Sithari. I would
us
say
quickly.
Yes, I would say the uncertainty in the minds of people, Sithari, that is the most difficult thing to address, because it's a pandemic. You never know whether whether you will get affected, whether your loved ones will get affected, and there is no end for this. So what we do, I mean, say like people go through difficult times. We send them positive messages. We have arranged counseling for sessions. I mean, say like on one-on-one basis, and spread much as possible positivity among the employees, as well as the other stakeholder groups. And whenever they are down, whatever, even our suppliers, our transporters, everyone. So like if they are down, we provide them the help by creating positivity, creating those positive vibes in and out of us. So that helps for people to I mean, say like mitigate this uncertainty, because no one sees end of it. Whether we'll have to continue like this for another 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, no one knows. But what matters is how we can help as an organization, as individuals also, to spread that positivity among the community and our friends, and get that thing going. So that is the challenge what we have the most, and that's how we manage it also.
Thank you very much, Anuruddha. Anuruddha.
Yeah, actually, Sithari, now if I explain in this way now, during this crisis and the one day if we have a full stop this and way forward, and what we can do with this set of people what we were dealing with all throughout this period, and how we can look after them. And the most important thing is giving the mindset of this protectiveness. Okay, they are protected, well protected. We have not forgotten them. So
Right.
they are the part of this system, and have to have a mutual understanding. We have to enhance, improve the communication channels where they feel very comfortable during this period. Then only they will contribute post-COVID period. The most important period is the post-COVID period. So how we can
Sure.
get best from this community to way forward. So that is my message, the way I'm thinking on that, Sithari.
Thank you very much. Right?
Yeah, I think my kind of personal takeaway, and I don't think it's a very positive one, is how fragile our economy is and how fragile people's lives are, and how much disparity there is in the system that we're in. And for me, I think the one thing that I've had to deal with all these phone calls and in the work that we do is how hungry people are. You know, over 60% of the country work in informal sector. Many of them still don't have work, and even if we start, there's a curfew lifted tomorrow, there still isn't work for them. And in that light, there are uncertainty and there are problems. So for me, I think if there's one way, it's about being empathetic and also being mindful of the suffering of others and of the anxieties and of the problems that other people have. And I think that's something we have to acknowledge, and we'll not just right now, but in the next year, in the next 2 years, as people's businesses collapse, as people's families go from from bad to worse, because that is the reality. People will sell their vehicles, they'll pawn their jewelry. It's going to get worse. And I think we need to be empathetic and mindful in our journeys going forward, as companies, as a state, and as individuals in our own homes.
Thank you very much, Rai. So one last question, quickly. This is as individuals. If I can please ask, what is the one thing you'd like to tell the individuals who are joining in? We are not thinking corporates, we are not thinking organizations, but we as individuals, what is the one thing you'd like to tell as individuals, how they can help society? Rai, will you take that on first?
Sure. I think it's just going back to what I said previously. Be empathetic, be mindful, and above all, remember that you play an important part as an individual in the scheme of things. And I think that's my biggest learning for myself, is that we, as an individual, you have the power to create change, and that can be within your own company. So if there are those from companies here saying, no, but that's the job of our HR division, for instance, or that's the job of our company CEO, it is also your job and how you weigh in on it. So continue to do good. That is what you can do as an individual.
Thank you. Gehan?
Yes, I totally agree with Rai, and on top of in addition to what she said, spread positivity. The moment you are positive, and when you spread positivity, all the others you can at least convince 1 or 2 people, and bring livelihood, select life or energy to the other person's life. So that's my personal message: spread positivity. We, as country, as a nation, we can definitely overcome this, and we will do our best, and a lot of new avenues or new opportunities are emerging. So I'm quite sure that all of us will have space on it, and spread positivity much as possible. Be optimistic. We all can do this together.
Thank you so much, Gehan. Anuruddha?
Yeah, Sithari, now the individual is the most powerful unit of the society. So
Absolutely.
Individual has to understand they are the changing point. They can do a lot. So if they understand that, and they can react on based on that, and understanding their potentials as a human being and what they can contribute to the society, and the connectivity with the people. So I think with that, we can get engaged as an individual in a positive way to societal development. So that is my message. So don't think as an individual, think that you are a critical element in the society.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Anuruddha. It was very much indeed inspiring and motivating, and to see and share our experiences and the passionate commitment from all of you. So thank you, Rai, Gihan, and Anuruddha. For your input. I'm sure the audiences found it inspiring as well. And we wish you all the best in your good work. And thank you very much for joining with us this morning. And we wish you all the best. Thank you very much. Over to you, Anton.
Thank you, Sithari. Special thanks to Anuruddha, Gihan, and Rai for joining us this morning and for those wonderful experiences that you've shared. And thank you, Sithari, for steering the conversation this morning. Obviously, from what we heard, we all hope for the fastest, safest resolution possible to our current predicament and a return to our previous lives as soon as we reasonably can be expected, I guess. However, it is becoming more and more apparent now that good CSR, as it were, begins at home. So smart businesses will increasingly focus on the people that they depend on the most, their employees, and managing a company's reputation during a crisis is a delicate balancing act. But the current threat presents especially tough challenges that requires careful navigation. As the role of CSR continues to evolve, it is encouraging from what we heard today to see how even in the midst of challenging times, social responsibility is here to stay. On that note, I'd like to thank our H1 team, our technology partners. Kudos to their team who routinely go above and beyond the call of duty to make these webinars a success. Today, you've tuned in to the 11th of the 12 topic series. On Monday, we're back discussing emotional well-being and support during a time of crisis. And our panel will feature Shanuki Dialvis, brand purpose consultant and community crisis first responder, Bani Chandrasena, head of inclusive diversity for London Stock Exchange Group, and Nivendra Uduman, counseling psychologist. So remember to log in on Monday at 9 a.m., the 4th of May. A quick reminder that video footage will be available on our social media feeds and our YouTube channels for those who have missed today's session or if you would like to catch up. On that note, a very good morning. Enjoy the rest of the day. Stay safe and stay productive. Thank you.